Hey there, it's Clay with modernlove.life, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to be around your ex, how to act around your ex. This can be a really common concern that people have when they're meeting up with their ex after maybe not seeing them for a while, and they're just not sure, like, how do I act around you? Or maybe the two of you just broke up and you just work together, go to school together, something like that, and you're just not sure how to interact around them. This can be really common and you're just not sure what to do. And so there is a lot of advice out there about playing it cool, making it seem like you are unimpacted, like you don't care or something like that. I get where that's coming from because, again, there is this very big cultural push, societal push to, make it seem like you don't care or something, because we have this weird game that we play after a breakup where we try to make it seem like we cared the least or something like that, so that it seems like we came out ahead. Like, yeah, I never cared about you. That's why I was in a relationship with you for 5 years. Whatever. Yeah, I bounced back after 30 minutes. I mean, for those first 30 minutes, it was a little bit iffy, but after 30 minutes, it was like I never even spent 5 years with you whatsoever. Yeah, super realistic, right? It's obviously fake. Your ex knows it. You know it. You know that they're faking it when they do that. It doesn't stop it from agitating you, but you know it. They know it. Everyone knows it. And here's the thing, though. If you want your ex to be open and honest around you, if you want them to tell it to you straight about how they're feeling, what they're going through, all that sort of stuff, how do you expect them to do that if you are not being open and honest with them as well, too? If you're going to put on this act, put on this pretense, put on this disguise of, hey, I'm fine, I don't care about you, I never cared about you in the first place, all that sort of stuff, then why would you expect them to open up and tell you something honest themselves, right? So we have to understand that there's this sort of flawed logic to the commonly held belief out there. And when it comes to the question of how to be around your ex or how to act around your ex, my typical response is don't. Don't act around your ex. A lot of the advice you'll see out there, whether it's meeting up with your ex for the first time or interacting with your ex in other circumstances, it's all based around putting on some sort of act, some sort of performance, some sort of charade that, hey, everything is wonderful. Hey, I'm this way when I'm actually feeling that way. Hey, don't look over here at the person behind the curtain having a totally human experience. Look at the great, magnificent Wizard of Oz, right? And obviously this is all fake. This is all an act. This is all pretense. But people do this. We both do this to each other. Why do we do this? If we just cut the BS and just get open and honest and real with one another, stop acting and start actually being authentic and real and genuine, we actually have a much better chance to actually form a meaningful connection. We have a much better chance of really cutting down to what's important. A lot of people that watch this channel are interested in saving their relationship with their ex. And if you want that to happen, if you want to be able to set yourself up to have conversations like this, stop acting. Stop acting and just actually be willing to be open and honest with one another. Now, around this point in the conversation, people often start bringing up some objections of, hey, you know what? I tried being open and honest right after the breakup. I did the whole begging and pleading. I promised up and down a million times that things would be different. I did all of that stuff. It obviously doesn't work. So we need to put on this act. We need to fake how we're showing up. We need to make it seem like we don't care, because whoever cares the least controls the relationship, right? No, it's not that way. Oftentimes, what we experience as being open and honest and genuine may be, vulnerable and transparent, but it's not coming from a positive place. In fact, it's what we would call negative vulnerability. So negative vulnerability versus positive vulnerability. Positive vulnerability is when you are able to express how you feel in a way where you take ownership of your emotions. You take ownership of them and you say, okay, here I am. I'm a human being and I'm experiencing this feeling. Yeah, I feel like I'm having a hard time some days. It's difficult to get through the day sometimes. I'll admit that I miss you from time to time, but you know what? I'll find my way through it. That's very different from, please take me back. I'll never be able to live without you. I just don't know how I'll be able to make it, right? That's what we'd call negative vulnerability. That's where you're making someone else or some other circumstance responsible for your emotions. It's very different to say, yes, this thing happened and I feel this way, and I'm also taking complete ownership and responsibility for it, versus, hey, this thing happened, you did this to me, you are now responsible for my emotions, my way of being, all that sort of stuff, right? So I really don't recommend that you act around your ex in any way. I recommend that you are actually transparent and vulnerable in a positive vulnerability sort of way. I think you'll be able to find that you get much better results doing this. Oftentimes, much of the less than satisfactory results that you get when you do all of that begging and pleading and, pouring your heart out kind of stuff after a breakup is actually negative vulnerability. And it's no surprise that that sort of behavior is just going to cause your ex to pull further and further away, because here they're saying like, hey, I'm having some major objections with this relationship. I don't think it's going to work out for this reason or that reason or whatever. And then you're saying, hey, you're doing this to me. You're causing me to feel this way. It's your fault that, I can't sleep, or I can't get through the day at work, or whatever it might be. And that's just going to cause them to feel guilt, which is going to cause them to pull away more, which is going to cause them to distance themselves even further and interact with you less and have less of an incentive for talking to you, and all of that stuff that we've spoken about in other videos in the past. So we want to make sure that we're dropping that pressure by taking responsibility for our own emotional experiences. There's obviously other ways that we can drop pressure, but that's definitely one of them. Now, like I said, it's totally okay to share how you feel as long as you're doing it from a place of positive vulnerability, where you're taking ownership for it. And obviously as well too, if you're living into your best life, if you just put your whole life on pause and your life is just like crumbling around you, then that's not going to come across from a place of positive vulnerability. We want to do it from a place of positive vulnerability, where you're able to take ownership of your life and do what you can do as a human being, having a totally normal human experience of, maybe feeling a little bit sad, feeling let down, disappointed, hurt, heartbroken, etc. But can you still pick yourself up and do the things that you need to do to live your best life? That's what we're talking about here. However, remember that you have to stay anchored in what is most important to you and who you are through all of this. As you are expressing vulnerability and as you are showing up as a genuine, transparent, authentic version of yourself, you're going to have to stay rooted and anchored in who you are. Okay, there's a very big difference between someone who's sort of swept up in the tides of some sort of powerful emotion, someone who is consumed by that emotion and becomes less than that emotion, versus someone who is rooted in who they are and they're having an emotion, and that emotion is, not bigger than them. That's what I'm asking you to get to a place of, where you're able to be a person who's having an emotion rather than someone who is just sort of swept up and overtaken and overpowered by an emotion. And if you can do this, that is what we're essentially talking about when we're talking about positive vulnerability. So when it comes to how to be around your ex, how to act around your ex, don't act. If you want to have a good quality, like with anything that I say, you can do whatever you want to do, right? You do whatever you want to do. Just be willing to accept the consequences of whatever it is you choose to do. But if you're putting on this act, if you're pretending to be something that you're not, if you're doing all that stuff, don't expect your ex to reciprocate in anything but the same. Don't expect them to be open and transparent with you if you're putting on an act. Expect them to put on an act back at you, because you're putting on an act, they're going to naturally want to put on an act. Or if they're in a place where they just naturally want to be open and honest, they're going to be like, screw you, you're putting on an act. I don't have time to deal with this BS. I'm going to go find someone who's willing to be open and honest with me, right? So if you do want to have some sort of open, honest sort of connection with them, then be willing to be open and honest yourself. Express that positive vulnerability, drop the act, just be yourself from a place of that positive vulnerability rather than negative vulnerability. Stay anchored in who you are, and remember that you are a human being having an emotion, not a human being being consumed by some sort of emotion. Okay, so with that being said, I hope that helps you out. If you did like this video, please make sure that you hit the thumbs up button for this video. It does help us out with YouTube. Please make sure that you subscribe as well too. And if you're looking for more information on how to get to that place emotionally, you might want to check out our course called Emotional Freedom. It's over at modernlove.life/EF. That's modernlove.life/E as an emotional, F as in freedom. There's also a link to it down below in the description box. Anyway, thanks so much. Please take care, and I'll talk to you next time.